I figured that was probably the case. 22 seconds. Oh, until we go? Okay. Are we going? All right, I guess we're live. Welcome to World of Science on one of my favorite days, and that is May the 4th. May the 4th be with you. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Hopefully you are too. Hopefully your kids are. If you're not, then this is not the science lesson that you're looking for, because we're doing all Star Wars themed science experiments. Let me just put this on mute real quick because I've got a little bit of an echo on my phone. All right, so let's get to it. We've got 2 Star Wars themed experiments for today. And to find the first one, we have to look inside the Millennium Falcon. And inside, we have 2 pieces of carbonite, where 2 different things have been frozen in carbonite, and our job is to get them out of the carbonite. I'm gonna show you first how I made these. And it's really, really simple. This is just, let me move my Millennium Falcon out of the way. So this is just made out of baking soda and water, and I've frozen 2 Lego figurines in here. You can probably see what that one is, but who is that? We'll find out who's in that carbonite in just a minute. So how we did this is 3 parts baking soda and 1 part water. So you basically just take 3 tablespoons of baking soda, and I didn't pre-open this. Usually I'm better than that. 3 tablespoons of baking soda, and then just 1 tablespoon of water, and you're gonna mix it all up and then put it in the freezer. I think it works best if you have an ice cube tray or something like that where you can, this is just not gonna open. Let me grab my other one. It works best if you have an ice cube tray or something that is already a shape. I used a glass for mine, like just a little plastic cup. So you just take 1, 2, and 3. And then just 1 tablespoon of water. Make sure you mix that all up. And then once it's kind of like this milky consistency, that's when you can put your character, or really you can hide anything in here, and stick it in the freezer. I left mine overnight. You don't have to leave it that long. It just takes a couple of hours, maybe 2 or 3 hours for it then to completely become solid. Now here comes the next part, is how do we get our items out of the carbonite? Well, we did this last week with, we experimented with baking soda and vinegar. It's always a fun reaction. There's so many different things you can do with it. So we're actually gonna do that again. How we're gonna get this out is we're gonna add vinegar to this, and it's gonna start to fizz, and some of the baking soda is gonna start to melt away. So let's grab one of our trays here so we don't make a big old mess, even though I kind of already have. And we're just gonna take distilled white vinegar. And if you want to use like a pipette or something to do this gradually, you can do that, but I'm just going to pour this on here. For kids, it's probably best to do this, you know, very gradually and not do the pour, because you can end up pouring out a lot of it at the same time. But I'll hold this up in just a second so you can see what's happening in here. Because look at how many bubbles we have going on in there. What's happening is when you mix baking soda and vinegar, you get a chemical reaction, and you're actually creating 2 different new chemicals, and by doing that, carbon dioxide is being formed, and that's what's causing the bubbles, and that's what's causing that fizzing that you hear. That's actually carbon dioxide gas that's being formed by this reaction happening. So our stuff is almost free from the carbonite. We got 1. I'll tell you, the vinegar does not smell great. All right, we got 2 completely free from the carbonite here, and you might recognize this as our friend, Kylo Ren. So he's now free from the carbonite, And you can do this with anything, any of the characters, really, it doesn't have to even be Star Wars. You can freeze anything and unfreeze it in the carbonite, and it's a really fun way to do this. I left these out for a little bit before I did the vinegar, so they were a little bit melted already. If you take them right out of the freezer, it takes longer for them to get free of the baking soda and the water. So that's our first one. That's our carbonite experiment. Even more fun, bonus points if you have Han Solo and you free him from the carbonite. Our second one that we're gonna do has to do with static electricity. And we're gonna call this using the force. Let me get all the baking soda and everything out of the way. Now this one requires a little bit of patience and a little bit of trial and error, but once you get it, it's really, really neat. So what we're gonna do is PVC pipe. It doesn't matter what size, it doesn't matter the thickness, it does not matter, any kind of PVC pipe is gonna work for this. And we are gonna create a static electricity charge on our PVC pipe. I'm gonna go ahead and call this our lightsaber because it's May the 4th. So what we're gonna do is you take some kind of fuzzy blanket. This is a fleece scarf. The fuzzier the better. If you have something that's like fur, fake fur or something like that, that'll work too. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna build up a static charge. This is the same thing that happens when it's winter time and you rub your feet against the carpet and then you go shock your brother and sister or you shock someone in your family. That's the same thing. When you rub your feet against the carpet, you're building up that static charge, and then you release that charge when you touch something else. So I'm building up the static charge. When you do this, you might hear a little bit of crackling, and that's good. That means that it's working. That means you're building up your static charge. So what we're doing is we're actually charging the electrons that live inside the atom. So you have your very small atom. Ooh, that's way bright today. Let me see if I can hold this back a little bit. Oh, it's just gonna be too bright. Anyways, atoms have electrons, and atoms are all around us, and electrons can be positively or negatively charged. So right now, we are creating a negative charge on this PVC pipe. So I can hear a lot of crackling now. Yeah, we've got a pretty good charge going on here. Water is made up of both positive and negative charges. And what happens is when we have some of those charges that meet one another, positive charges attract one another. They are attracted to each other, they move towards each other. Negative charges move away from each other. So we're building up let me go back. It's still early in the morning. Like charges attract one another, and opposite charges, like charges, my goodness, we're not gonna get this right. Like charges repel one another. So you have a negative and negative charge, it's going to repel each other, and that's what we're gonna try to do. And then we also have positive and negative charges, and those attract one another. We're gonna get it right eventually. It's still pretty early in the morning, and it's still definitely a Monday. So what happens in water is we have positive and negative charges, and we talked about how opposite charges attract one another. So the positive and negative are going to attract one another. So I'm going to pour a little bit of this water. This is going to be difficult to see on camera here. I wish I had a cameraman pull a little bit closer. Let's see. I think it does best with me in the background. Okay, so we're going to do this. This is negatively charged. We've got positive and negative charges on here, and I don't know how well you can see this, but the water actually bends towards your PVC pipe. You're using that force, the force between the positive and the negative electrons to attract one another. So this is positive and negative, this is negative, and so what we're doing is we're attracting all of the electrons in the water, the positive ones, and it actually bends that water towards the PVC pipe. And it's really neat to watch. You can do it over and over again. You just have to recharge your PVC pipe, and then you're good to go. And water, you don't have to do anything to it. It's just the way that it is. For bonus points, this one requires a lot of patience, and I'm not gonna be able to do this live because it does take a little bit of trial and error. But you can also take a bag, a plastic bag. This is just the handle of like a Kroger bag that I cut off. And what you do is you charge up both of these. So this one, and then you'll charge up your plastic handle. So we've created two negative charges, and like charges, they repel one another. So what you're gonna do is, again, this does take trial and error, is these are actually repelling each other. I can feel this pushing, you can see it pushing away a little bit from each other. And what you can eventually do is this will float on top of here, almost like magic. So it's a really neat experiment. It does take a lot of trial and error. It does take a lot of patience, but it's really, really cool once you get it. All right, so that's our Star Wars May the 4th be with you. All of this is gonna be online. So if you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, if you have any concerns, I'm actually gonna put my earpiece back in so I can hear. Do we have any, Mia, do we have any questions or any comments on Facebook? I don't know if she can hear me. We have a little bit of a delay. Anyways, I'll be looking on Facebook Live, and if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, just let me know, and hopefully you have a fantastic May the 4th. Happy Star Wars Day.